Welcome to News Express. Now, in what is rapidly becoming one of the most intense internal battles in Nigeria's opposition politics ahead of 2027, the People's Democratic Party has once again been pushed into the spotlight not by its rivalry with the ruling APC, but by a deepening internal struggle over control, legitimacy, and the future direction of the party itself. On Wednesday, the faction aligned with Makinde delivered a blunt message to critics within and outside the party. The PDP's primaries and national convention will proceed as planned, regardless of resistance from the camp of the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Wike. At the heart of this confrontation is not just a disagreement over procedure, but a struggle for the soul of a party that once dominated Nigeria's political landscape. The Makinde, aligned with interim leadership, chaired by Kabiru Turaki, insists it is acting within its constitutional authority and will not be derailed by what is described as attempts to destabilize the party from within. In their framing, the machinery of primaries, nomination sales, and convention planning is already in motion, and reversing it is neither legally nor politically possible at this stage. But politics, especially within the PDP, in recent years, rarely operates on procedural clarity alone. The response from the Makinde bloc was not merely administrative. It was confrontational, emotional, and unmistakably political in tone. In a strongly worded statement issued by National Publicity Secretary Ini Emembong, the faction accused Wike of what it called political recklessness, describing his recent media comments as an unsolicited display of political rascality and a reflection of what it termed post-defeat trauma. The language was not diplomatic. It was deliberately combative, signaling that this is no longer a quiet dispute, but an open intra-party war of narrative. The statement went further, framing Wike not simply as a dissenting voice within the party, but as a destabilizing force whose influence must be contained. In one of its most striking lines, the faction expressed sympathy for the minister, suggesting that he has come to terms with the reality that he cannot assume any leadership role in the party beyond what its constitution allows. The implication is clear. The PDP, or at least this faction of it, is drawing a hard boundary around institutional authority and rejecting personalized interpretations of power. What makes this moment particularly significant is not just the rhetoric, but the timing. The PDP is preparing for a critical phase of its internal democratic process, including the scale of nomination forms and the organization of national primaries that will determine its presidential candidates for the 2027 elections. In any political party, this is the most sensitive period where ambition, structure, and influence collide. In the PDP's case, however, it is also a moment of essential testing where internal cohesion is being challenged by competing power blocks with long-standing grievances. The Makinde faction insists that nothing will halt this process. It frames the convention not merely as a party event, but as a constitutional obligation that must proceed if the PDP is to remain relevant in the national political arena. By emphasizing continuity and legality, the group is attempting to position itself as a guardian of institutional order within a party often criticized for internal fragmentation. But beneath that message lies a deeper political calculation. Control of the process often determines control of the outcome. Wike's cap, on the other hand, has repeatedly raised concerns about legality, structure, and authority within the party's current arrangements. His interventions, often delivered in strong, uncompromising language, have become a defining feature of PDP's internal turbulence. While his supporters argue that he is challenging irregularities and defending due process, his critics within the party see a pattern of disruption aimed at influencing outcomes or asserting dominance over party structures. The result is a political environment where nearly every procedural step is interpreted through the lens of power struggle. The Makinde-led interim leadership, however, is attempting to neutralize that influence by asserting institutional finality. By proceeding with nomination seals and maintaining the convention timeline, it is signaling that the party cannot be held hostage by internal disagreements, regardless of how influential the dissenting voices may be. In effect, it is a test of whether organizational structure can override political personality, a question that has repeatedly haunted opposition parties in Nigeria. In its statements, the PDP faction also directly challenged some of Wike's claims regarding legal proceedings and court judgments, demanding clarity and documentary proof. This reflects another layer of the conflict, the increasing use of legal interpretation as a political weapon within party disputes. Rather than being confined to internal party arbitration, disagreements are now frequently extended into the courts, where rulings are then interpreted, contested, and reinterpreted by competing factions. The result is a parallel struggle, one political, one legal ruling, simultaneously and often feeding into each other. Beyond the personalities involved, what is unfolding is a broader struggle over what the PDP wants to be ahead of 2027. It is a unified national opposition platform capable of challenging the ruling party or fragmented coalition of powerful regional actors, each defending their own political territory. The Makinde faction is betting on the former, insisting that unity and process will eventually produce a credible presidential candidate. Wike's intervention, however, reflects a more skeptical view of internal consensus, rooted in long-standing mistrust within the party's ally structure. This tension is not new, but its intensity has increased as the 2027 cycle approaches. Every statement, every legal reference, and every procedural announcement is now being interpreted not just as administrative communication, but as a strategic move in a larger political chessboard. Even language, once a tool of internal coordination, has become a weapon of positioning. Yet, beneath the rhetoric lies a more sobering reality for the PDP. Internal division at this scale weakens not just organizational cohesion, but public perception. Voters observing the unfolding conflict are presented not with a unified alternative government in waiting, but with a party still struggling to resolve questions of authority and direction. In electoral politics, perception often precedes performance, and prolonged internal conflicts can erode confidence long before ballots are cast. Still, the Makinde's blog's message is unequivocal. The convention will proceed. The primaries will hold. And the party, at least in its view, will not be dictated to by any individual, regardless of influence or past position. Whether that assertion holds through the full intensity of Nigeria's political season remains to be seen. What is already clear, however, is that the PDP's internal struggle is no longer a background dispute. It has become a defining feature of Nigeria's pre-2027 political landscape, one that will shape not only the party's internal structure, but its credibility as a national opposition force. And in the contest, the battle is no longer just about who leads the party. It is about whether the party can still lead itself. That's all for now on News Express. Kindly like, subscribe, and share this video. I'm Chidera Esom. Thank you for watching. You have a beautiful day.